sitting in his room, a little girl. During his hazel eyes that were staring at the door in pigtails, her hair color was a little confusion. She heard it whisper out his father and mother to hug and cry around near her body stuffed giraffe. I would not have children. In a loud voice, I cried, a deep voice. He provoked. The girl's mother cried, all do, which is cut by drawing on walls, complaining, is the casino. Your children, David. I do not know you better, Mary Beth. Ah. I do not want to hear your excuses. Nonsense. I have just enough with them, and you what you want to do about it. The girl heard footsteps approaching from outside his room, and hugged her close. Giraffe forced the door open, large, overweight door of that anger. It was one of father, in hands of his body. It was a great textbook. David, stop it, his mother cried. However, his wife crying father ignored the request. He grabbed the girl by the collar. She trembled in fear and trembling. He was kicking and screaming. The girl's father was held strictly textbook. This is you, is a child to draw on my wall. A few years later, a girl now, 9-year-old Natalie, he mentioned, when she was a bit chubby normally through puberty. As usual, she looked at the TV. I was sitting in his room. Her father as she chewed some popcorn. Fact, some economic crap they can provide, ranting for the following leg. He also drew pictures. It was a bit like gore, oddly enough. She was like blood. He had a wonderful sense of satisfaction to him. Otherwise, multifunction, it was not a problem for them. It is their young age. You have to work so much that to do with hard work. He became clear that I was able to do many things at one time. Drawings fulfilled their talents and passions. If something bad is bad behind her head and peers, or if he was just bored, it was a way to escape reality. They suddenly listened to opening and closing the door, stopped munching popcorn, looked to my left side. Lucas' brother was standing there. I was 14 years old. What? Here he can still crying for his father entrance. Papa scare you? He then chuckled. No way. I do not think I cried. Accustomed to two things. There was a long silence. So, what you have here? He seemed to be playing with the little hands and little spasm. I need to ask you something. He trained eye. He and his brother damaging impatient movies and drawings, was a bit brilliant. What? He said, you're cold, and you want to grow as a boy. They want to say, right? Move in a little closer. She rather suddenly bright nodded. Well, I will be able to offer. It's simple, you fool mate. And you know what boys and girls sometimes together, is not it? The next day at school, Natalie did not say anything. He did not talk during the day. Everyone can know anyways. Nobody did, he say. If you know someone, therefore, everyone would not know. Teacher to take some of the confusion they express themselves. It's as though she did not understand the doctrine has to do it. They Natalie to cause severe pain was also felt. He did not know could hurt. Sensing fear, she went quiet of his room and went home. However, during the day, they are greeted by his brother again. Everyone would know. In school, he decided to finally tell someone. But I do not have any friends. He has. He felt it. He walked over to a group of girls who will see them in the hall often. They seem like a nice girl, and Natalie and she will talk regularly. Hey, Mia, girl with an ugly face. I saw Natalie Ginger. Yes, I need to talk to you about something. Really? It's been long. Avoidance. You and your friends. Well, I just think people can trust. Not Mia and her friends. Just for a moment, it seemed to draw a little smile. Natalie, we're hungry for gossip. New little. Well, you can trust us. What happened? It was all it took. No, one day after, when all was repeated statements about social networking sites like Facebook. Even if a person is when he called her, who is not understood at that age, he will not always say is that had finished lunch in her hair. He has been the least of his problems. Natalie, a 9 only, was deeply upset due to support from the truth. However, she has not wanted to see, and they and you as this journey, until now, did not say anything about it, as can remember. He always everything inside was had, it would not be cut. He assumed it was excellent. You cannot put the pain in order to get your best 300-hour school night. His mother wanted to kill her. A girl named Natalie, she nearly the honor roll, was now 16, was given in high school. For once, she is his secret from his father, Mang, regular room. Still loves screaming, and economic and monetary policy on the child is calm in the PPY, though feel as usual, with all the nonsense it is disappointing to hear flat out. His eyes are beginning to feel heavy. He is assigned to work with these things, but it was not to her as important. After adjusting to the darkness in his eyes, all sleep, her mind is little, and closed his laptop and his corner of her past. She saw wearing stuffed toy giraffe. He was staring at her in complete silence, documented through his head. He saw tears in his eyes. However, recently, he flashes back to them, so as not to break it again. I thought. However, he continued to stare at her. We look at what it is he stuffed toy object, it are just soft, I say back, that had been staring at the black button eyes. He stood by and shook his head. He looked sadly small animal masks. Took her gently in his arms. She rocked her, talked to her gently. I'm sorry. Some tears ran down her face. He is coarse animal hair, smooth as lying on his bed. He went to bed late. He was awakened by Thunder Mother. He opened one of his eyes tired. I cannot believe I forgot to bring off. They were all night. You did not, Natalie, with a sigh. The media in detail her face with a pillow, and that was pressed giraffe close. His mother, after his teeth cleaning out, she has walked with a sigh, shower, eat some breakfast. She who was wearing, in fur on the inside and hat, put it in a gray hooded sweatshirt, blue, although it was not his favorite, because other people are there in the laundry. She is the only one that can wear it school. He also has a thin black jeans, some cool. I went downstairs to find that eventually boots. She go to school. He splashes in the car, and the mother was running toward the school. However, on the way there, because of lack of sleep, slowly against her car window, his head began to drift away. Dream, or a nightmare, I should say. It was physical abuse as a child. She now sleeps with stomach complement. However, her mother did not care. His mother did not accept. Suddenly, he was awakened by the sound. Bright mother, we're here. Drop confused. Perhaps in sleep. He looked at the large school sign, read, Walker University Institute, Creative Visual Art. She stood with a tired sigh. I put her purse on the shoulder. See ya. It was closed to declare the car door. They went into the synagogue, and until she went to the third floor in his locker, talking to a few friends, he grabbed the book. Before 5 minutes elapsed time, she ran to class. English teacher. He was angry and put his hands on Natalie's desk. It had a faint, where is the allocation? Arlette, Miss Natalie. Well, I forgot at home. I'm sorry, Miss Home New Week. Me? I stood up and he growled. Your time is up, Miss Arlette. Please do not let me down. Natalie and I appeared on the idea when chaos. He did not know the reason, but the words seemed to melt in his way. Who is he? That it is easy to ignore. I went to hear back. Of course, I have slept subject not long after the fall. On that day, he was moved to the locker 4th period. Suddenly, when it comes to her boyfriend Chris, hey, I'm okay. After school go. We're talking about. She loved the story of Chris. I smile. How strange they do not know anything. It was always such a sweet person. At his French class, he dared to look. Instead, he scribbled what you liked. She is uniform. To mention blood, gore, knife. The kind of things are creepy. Some people will say it had become dark enough to draw that to her, but she did not see anything wrong. Oddly enough, it is true for them. It felt like a normal thing. Miss Arlette, he covers graffiti immediately to the paper. A quick look for a teacher of French. Hide. She tried her anxiety. Are you Mr. Levis or UH? He might move the small side of the head. Showed his hand. I have to show your work. He shows an image of the human person, just crazy with stripes. Was pulling his hand. Hesitation. Master looked into chaos. It was little he saw him. She laughed nervously. We dissolve and start your career, he said in a strange voice. Calm. He left, and she began to erase the image that side. And missing Arlette, he is looking a bit with him. Your time, it's about doing more work. What I propose now, we repeat in a statement. Time has always seemed to be against them. As long as because they are likely to take care when you can off. After class buzz turn, he, the man who has appeared in the vicinity of the fence on the sidewalk, returned from school. She smiled. And go at least one day and expect to be able to his heart. Instead of walking as he approaches, his smile has faded step by step. He did not smile back. That has to Chris, what is happening, and we are talking about me, she sighed. Natalie, I think it's time to start looking at other people's we should. She felt heartbreak. But why? He gave her a bit of a tough look. It is your mindset, your drawings, they're just. I think it's really something wrong with you. You were out crawling. And why you behave like irresponsible this, it. The sad thing is, why do you not say for me? So, I'm sorry. To give the impression that I can do more. She started to walk away. Natalie has seared his hands on the table home bathroom. He was staring into the eye of her in the stomach in the mirror. I'm not hurting too, the same way as other people. I can wait a powerful fortress. Needles with black thread was in hand. It does not help, does not mean some strange feeling was pulling subconscious. She laughed a little. Because I want to. Is there not? I am doing it. He held a needle and thread in the end. He smiled widely. Time up. It works to cut a piece after cutting. Although he had, in pain. They do not whine. She did not cry. He did not have to shed tears and cry. There. All she had was a smile. Blood leaked from the puncture, and then to sink. I made noises low flow on the counter. When he finished, he stepped back, and I loved his work. He was a frightening illness spread side of his mouth in a broad smile. He stroked. She felt hot wet blood on his finger. Eating water, a metallic taste in pure ecstasy, slowly licking. She looked at her mother in the mirror behind her. Mother's around. She looked big eyes and pale face. She looked at her fingers. And when it is suddenly the sight of blood, he has not stopped. He suddenly felt pain. She began to cry. Mom, he never felt. He was very excited. Is it happened? His mother. He had planned for some treatment. Natalie, for fear of pain, it will reach. It was not to remove the mesh, so he went to a specialist. He might see that they have to leave. Please check on him. Maid hat. She sat in a comfortable leather seat, was staring at his opposite blonde woman quietly. So, your name Natalie? Natalie, I nodded. I Debera, and I'm here to help you. Now, what was some of your problem soon? Tell me, Natalie observed. We have time. Time with my problem. Debera gave shape to his frustration. Is it a slave? Natalie hand I reached for the seat leather. Everything is. It's on your head, apparently, suffering only until the end, which is controlled by the company. Proceed slowly in life. You are no longer alive, conducted by them. This is a vicious circle. I do not have hours to finish. With no one other that is slow. It is not up to speed. It's violent. It will live through your suffering. Others grips with him again soon. Natalie really even think that he has the right to speak. He no longer felt, as did Mays himself. This is. I wonder everything she has always been? No, it was not easy. However, for some strange reason, he liked it. Specialist has leaned closer. Honey, I would not tell us what happened. Natalie is still staring. There was a long silence. He bit. He laughed again through far less open bites. Why you our skilled blondie? Do not tell me. Debera seemed slightly irritated. Glance. Hey, if you say what you're Natalie I wrong to me, I cannot help you. His finger was now torn leather seats. Natalie again here. Salt. Debera has expanded his eye. He stood up. I'll be right back. Please stay here. He went out to leave Natalie alone. They probably did nothing at this stage. They are not into what it is today. Probably a lot of people alive. And maybe he will recover. If you'd like. To me. They stood up from the chair. I intend Held admitted that it did not happen all. However, I give you the horrible truth. Natalie did not move. He is still very still on a chair. Very quiet. I was sitting in full. And, after a moment of impatience waiting, his parents had finally come. He was ready to go, but she saw her parents' words. Even his father. I was worried about the strange look on his face. Although his confusion was growing, He did not say the words, and she kept them in the car. Along the way, she began to drift. He thought back home. It's strange, dark. She heard a voice dream. It is echoed in the dark ages. It sounded almost like his own. I am your time is up. He, some beads of sweat rolling down her face, was shot and eyes. He was not home. He was not in the car. He was in bed. White couch. In the white room, she saw his side to ensure that they are hooked up to the heart monitor. Although she went to stand up, suddenly, she noticed that the band was down. She fears. He began to fight, but was stopped by the time the news of it to open the door to the left. Person white shirt looking at him, hands behind his back. It's going to be some scientific laboratory. It looked like one of the stereotype of doctor. As she speaks, Mr. Scientist author, we have paid close attention. You must be very confused. I cannot imagine. But I'll tell you here just to help you. Some of your parents had agreed to provide counter medications, psychological. Hopefully signed a will that spirit to help your situation. Although he opened his mouth to protest, it was quiet overnight. It should not have to worry about it. You will be the usual time. Please try just to relax. He went on, but he was trying to be cocky movement, a band with his hand so it can be constituted by leather straps around the foot. He carefully takes the mask was placed over the mouth and nose. She went out, has been trying sustainability, feeling off and slip under medication, was closed slowly eyes, and suddenly, he woke up. She could not understand what the hell I saw. These are some of the things he had rubbed on his skin. He was given multiple injections. She felt dizzy. But its environment has not been fully recognized. If they are trying to pass surgery, she had a rare condition for some patients. They do not respond to brain function, whether it is work that they may see. You can feel pain in the same situation. However, he can. Your heart rate on the screen began to accelerate, and take care of a physician. She saw his eyes open for it. One of the doctors who was screaming at others. He did not understand what they were saying. He suddenly felt an adrenaline rush. They trembled violently, and began to slowly slip through his veil. One of the doctors, the media and hold it, and suddenly you hesitate to do so, and support has cancelled all 3 doctors. He is now sitting at the bedside, ripping the mask and tube out of hand. He got up. I now stumble upon them. Breath is caught. His vision was blurred. You take some laughter of madness. You can make your own. But, suddenly, he felt a searing pain in his chest. He grabbed a place that claimed his heart, knelt. He is dark and coughing blood, has completely fallen down. He blurred eyes were awakened by then slow. He was in bed back. The doctor was sitting near the bed. There was a problem. They did not know why, but she felt a huge amount of resentment against the doctor. He took notice of it, was averted eyes. We are conditioning your mind to can. We need to wake up when they do not know how you affect it. However, I feel that he had to find it. He is to be completed before a small glass. Pause for a second. I looked at it. It occurred to pull effect on your appearance. She looked at herself in the mirror. His eyes were completely eyes. They was green. She found that it was still in the same thread mouth. However, for several reasons, she could not help but feel happy. But now it is increasing the heart rate again. He gave a low chuckle. Doctor. Apparently shocked to find that they suddenly was already there. Doctor, he said, still bottom of the monitor, and trembling a little but and chuckling. Why yes, I am your time is up. Through a pure large hospital corridor and heard a noise, he said. 2 guards rushed into the room. I was kicking the door open. Bread. It was the first of what they saw. On the wall, on the bed, even in hell blood on the floor, the ceiling. Natalie except the doctor, and he is strapped on the bed for nearly hitting his sandwich as it was quite possibly one back to take advantage of the adaptation of capacity, has been snapped. Blood in his eyes, streaming nose, mouth, and from almost all of the orifice of his body, and, in the corner, it was a killer, drawing his terrible image, joy wall of the blood. The words, you have is your time on. He is a maniac over her face smile. Look at them. And it was slow. One of them suddenly, friends of the news they stand. H way, how to play. guards immediately pulling a gun, and I can get the ball. He grabbed a large knife from a sheath in his pocket. He pulled down the flanks, rushed out blood and organs, fell down. She loved the smell of death. Damp made a deep breath. Another. I was shook in fear. Let his weapon. She walked slowly toward him, put the tip of a knife chest. I am of your time on. Slowly slide the knife into his chest to end all the way to his stomach. It spilled on the floor in the same way his instrument and dropped dead. Natalie's mother, sleeping quietly in his room, was next husband. He got up to the door and knocked. They stand to the front door. It was the habit of walking out of the bedroom. That is poured into, completely out, roaring with thunder, far away. He went to the door. As he was trying to grab the knob, I faltered. ... Little noise was things. Rain and thunder seemed suddenly quiet, and he listens to your ears pressed against the door. Hi, Mom. Natalie is wielding 2 knives in her hand. She sits door his mother by hitting her head on the locker, and returned. One of the buttons broke into his skull, was mashy, bleeding from the back of the head from the ground violently. He fell to the ground paralyzed, but remains unconscious. Natalie towered over him, but slowly kneeling to check the level of their eyes. Thick red blood cells that were covered showed her second knife. I received a Mom. She ran the tip of a knife to cut a simple cheek hole. Natalie tilted head, but you've got nothing. Both mother waved to do. There is always the possibility, gasping for air like a fish on land. Natalie grabbed the mother, a flat back, slowly to the floor, put it like her. He stayed on it, in part 5, but went to the second floor to begin a snap to make with his mother to the air, but shook chest. Her next. He's in the overcrowded train started. Gargle seems to breathe.